A lot of us have been stuck in toxic relationship patterns. We keep attracting these toxic recurring patterns in our relationship or toxic recurring partners. The faces keep changing. However, how these partners treat us remain the same. The theme of our relationship dynamics somehow are quite similar to one another. Even though these partners are not connected, but it feels like all of them are in on making your life a hell. How is that even happening? For that, we need to understand how our subconscious attraction blueprint operates, how our subconscious mind attracts partners into our life, or how our subconscious mind attracts us towards certain type of people. And to understand this perspective, we need to understand how our subconscious attraction or relationship blueprint is developed. Because the very first relationship that we develop in this life is with our parents. The influence of those relationships on our subconscious mind is so dynamic. It shapes the adult life relationship that we attract into our reality. And if we can understand how the parental influence operates at a subconscious level, we can understand our subconscious attraction blueprint. But not only understand that, we can also break that. But it requires understanding of how the subconscious parental influence works. So by the end of this video, you will be blown away, because this is the sort of experiences that I went through. And during my research in becoming an instant healing hypnotherapist, I have researched on several different aspects of human subconscious mind to understand how our attraction pattern is shaped, what kind of partners we attract due to what kind of experiences. And I'm going to share all of that with you, so you will be able to understand why you have been able to consistently attract similar type of partners into your life. So just sit back, relax, keep an open mind, and let's dive into this. You see, early caregiver relationships wires emotional regulation systems. These imprints influence self-worth, emotional safety, attachment behavior, and partner selection. So, our early caregivers, which is primarily our parents, shape our entire relationship blueprint. Now, let's understand how each of the parents influence our subconscious mind. And that will give us another layer of understanding why we are attracting certain kind of partners. Let's start with the father. Now, a father represents masculine energy. The influence of our emotional connection with our father shapes our relationship attraction blueprint, and that we are going to understand how it shapes our attraction blueprint. You see, the father's influence shapes self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, self-respect, and sense of identity. These 5 traits are shaped as a result of our emotional connection with our father or the masculine figure during our childhood. Now, these 5 traits are developed as a result of our emotional connection with our father. Now, if that emotional connection was disrupted due to any kind of a traumatic event or any kind of traumatic relationship, or even one single moment that sort of created a father wound inside our subconscious mind, there are few ways this can play out in our life. So either the father influence traits will be in excess or in deficit, but they will not be balanced as a result of the father wound. So if they are in excess, they will play out in a very different way. If they are in deficit, they are going to play out in a very different way. So let's understand that. So let's suppose if they are in deficit. So let's understand, if they are in deficit, what are the traits you are going to develop in your personality? You see, you will have low self-worth. You will have fear of rejection. You will have approval seeking tendencies, difficulty asserting needs in relationship. This happens as a result if the father influence traits are in deficit. Now, whether they are in deficit or in excess depends upon our inherited traits. So it means a lot of the people can have father wound, but some of them will have these traits in excess, some of them will have it in deficit. Now, let's understand what kind of partners you are going to attract if you have your father influence traits in deficit. The partners that will be attracted in your relationship dynamics are going to be emotionally unavailable individuals, dominant or controlling partners, validation withholding personalities, narcissistic dynamics. The nervous system seeks external validation to compensate for internal deficiency. Now, if you observe, We always attract what we feel inside. So let's suppose if the father influence traits are in deficit inside of us, that will make us attract partners who are going to have such behavior. They will be emotionally unavailable individuals. They will have dominant or controlling personalities. They will be someone who would hold on to validation, and they would have narcissistic tendencies, because all these personality traits within a partner will trigger the lack of self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, self-respect, and sense of identity. So we attract what we feel inside. So have you been attracting such kind of partners? If the answer is yes, then your father influence traits might be in deficit inside your subconscious mind. Now let's understand what happens if father influence traits are in excess as the result of a father wound. You see, if the traits are in excess, you will have hyper independence, emotional rigidity, over control, avoidance of vulnerabilities. And as a result of all of these personality traits, the sort of partners that you are going to attract are going to be emotionally dependent individuals, clingy or insecure partners, individuals seeking strong leadership. Excess autonomy attracts dependency polarization. So if you see, if you have all these traits in excess, the sort of partners that you're going to attract are these kind of partners. So if you see, you attract what you feel inside. So I want you to observe your relationship patterns, and I want you to observe the sort of partners you have been able to attract in relationship dynamics. And I want you to identify whether you have the father influence traits in excess or in deficit. Now, let's focus on the mother influence traits. Now, mother influence traits are what we call the feminine energy. And how does this influence our subconscious mind? What are the sort of traits that our emotional connection with our mother helps us shape? Now, these traits are emotional expression, nurturing capacity, comfort with intimacy, empathy, and emotional safety. Now, these five traits are developed as the result of our emotional connection with our mother or the feminine figure in our early childhood. Now, just like the father wound, if there was any kind of a mother wound or traumatic experience or traumatic relationship with our mother, these traits can either be in excess or in deficit. And whether they are in excess or deficit will have influence on our adult life relationship. And what are those influences? So let's see. Let's start with the deficit. If the five mother influence traits are in deficit, what's going to happen is you will have traits such as emotional withdrawal, difficulty expressing affection, discomfort with closeness, suppress vulnerability. Now, if these traits are in deficit, that's what your personality traits are going to be. And as a result of that, the partners you are going to attract in your relationship dynamics is emotionally distant individuals, avoidant partners, intimacy resistant personalities. Emotional distance feels neurologically familiar. This is what's going to happen if you have the mother influence traits in deficit. Now let's understand what happens if the mother influence traits are in excess. So if the mother influence traits are in excess, the traits you are going to have is you might have over nurturing, emotional over investment, losing identity in relationship, anxiety driven attachment or anxious attachment style. Now as a result of this, the sort of partners you are going to attract is emotionally immature individuals, partners seeking caretaking, under functioning personalities. Excess nurturing attracts emotional dependency. And I can also tell you this with experience, with my own experience and the experience of a lot of different clients. When you have mother influence traits in excess, you are always the most clingy one in the relationship. You might be someone who is overly obsessed with your partner, and emotional withdrawal can be very harsh for you because you have all the mother influence traits in excess. Now you have understood the father's influence and the mother's influence. But up until now, we have been looking at both of these in isolation. But to understand our subconscious attraction blueprint holistically, we need to understand how both of them work together. And that will give us such a great understanding of our attraction blueprint. Now we are going to analyze your exact subconscious attraction blueprint. So Attraction patterns are formed through combined imprints of the father and the mother. You see, attraction patterns are formed through combined imprints of the father influence traits and the mother influence traits. So let's just see what you are attracting in your relationship dynamics. Now, if you have the father influence traits in deficit, but you have mother influence traits in excess, if that is your subconscious attraction blueprint, what's going to happen? Your internal state would be low self worth, high emotional over investment. The behavior you will have is chasing, overgiving, fear based attachment. The partners you are going to attract is avoidant individuals, emotionally unavailable partners, partner who enjoy being pursued. I want you to reflect on your own relationship experiences and determine, is this the pattern that you have? Now, let's move on to the next pattern. If you have your father influence traits in excess and the mother influence traits in deficit, this kind of a subconscious imprint creates partners who are quite narcissistic and they are quite overly dominating. So let's understand them. Their internal state is emotional rigidity, vulnerability suppression. The behavior that they have is detached dominance, emotional withholding. The sort of partner they attract is highly emotional individuals, partners seeking emotional leadership. Now, here's something I want you guys to understand over here. If you observe someone who has father influence traits in deficit and mother influence traits in excess will end up attracting someone who has father influence traits in excess and mother influence traits in deficit. This is what happens, and I have observed this again and again, because there will be some subconscious familiarity between you people, because you will be able to relate on the childhood dynamics where you both might have experienced a father wound or a mother wound. However, the influence of the father wound and the mother wound is very different on each one of you. Now let's understand the third subconscious attraction blueprint. That is, if you have your father influence traits in deficit and your mother influence traits are also in deficit, so both are in deficit. So if that is something you have, your internal state would be low self-worth, emotional avoidance. The behavior you will have is settling for instability, tolerating inconsistency. The partners you are going to attract is chaotic personalities, insecure or unstable partners. And I have observed that such kind of people are quite depressive. The sort of relationship experience that they attract is quite depressive. They are depressive, their partners are depressive, and the entire theme of the relationship just becomes depressive. There is not much joy in relationships. In other words, there are no highs in the relationship. There are only lows in such kind of relationship. Now let's understand the last subconscious attraction blueprint. That is, if the father influence traits are in excess and the mother influence traits are also in excess, so what kind of relationship are you going to have? The sort of internal state that you will have is high control, high emotional intensity. The sort of behavior that you will have is power struggles, dramatic relational cycles. The sort of partners you are going to be attracted to are going to be dominant personalities, intense but unstable dynamics. Now, I want you to understand which one of these four is your subconscious attraction blueprint. Because just by understanding what is your subconscious attraction blueprint, you can understand why you are attracting certain kind of partners into your life. And this knowledge in itself is a great starting point for you to start healing. Now, if you would like to heal, you can just take this information to your therapist and you can start working on your subconscious mind. Your therapist will help you remove the father wound, the mother wound, and once you remove the father wound and the mother wound, the traits that are associated with each of the parents will become balanced. And if they are balanced, what are you going to attract? You're going to attract someone who's as balanced as you are. However, if you would like to work with me in my 15 days instant healing program, where I teach you the art of instant healing hypnosis, where I help you get inside your subconscious mind, remove the father wound and mother wound in less than 2 to 3 minutes, because that's how fast instant healing hypnosis works. And that's exactly what I've done for so many of my clients. But I also give you a roadmap where you can just get inside your subconscious mind and remove all the blockages. Because remember, instant healing hypnosis works in less than 2 to 3 minutes. So why stop at father wound or mother wound? Why not go an extra mile and remove all the blockages from your subconscious mind? Now, as a plus, I also teach you conversational hypnosis, because remember, each and every relationship that we develop in our life is highly dependent upon our communication, and communication is one of the number one problem because of which a lot of the relationship fall apart. In conversational hypnosis, I teach you the art of conversational hypnosis, and by applying that technique in less than a minute of casual conversation, you will be able to observe that the other person gets so attracted to you. They will start speaking more and more to you. That's how I have designed my 15 days instant healing program that completely shifts your relationship blueprint, and it helps you attract a long-term sustainable healthy relationship. And if you would be interested in that, my process is quite simple. You can sign up for a free mini therapy session. Now, this free mini therapy session is my enrollment process to assess your subconscious mind map, your attraction blueprint, and determine if your subconscious mind is primed for result. And if you are 100% sure about my program, I will allow you to enroll into my program. However, if I feel like I cannot promise you the result, or your subconscious mind has a lot of doubts about my program, I might refuse your application, because remember, placebo effect happens. Whatever you believe in is going to happen. And if you believe my program can help you, I promise you I can help you. But if I feel like I cannot promise you the result, I might refuse your application.